Three, two, one, here we go. Hello and welcome to the Reinventing Entrepreneur Podcast. I am Dave Mamano, your host, and we are here to help entrepreneurial achievers and business owners and leaders move forward so that they can reach their potential. I do this by interviewing the nation's best movers and shakers. Today I have on the show a great mover and shaker all the way from Australia, although now he lives in Colorado. His name is Matt Parry. Matt, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
Yeah, Matt, you are not the guy from Friends. You are not Matthew Parry, that Chandler that we endured, through the years. But you spell it. You go by Matt, and you spell Parry Parry, and so that's you're little bit different, right? So
that's it. I'm a little different.
I like that. And looking, if you're watching this, I know 99% of our listeners and Avanti family listen to the audio version of this podcast on their favorite podcast app like iTunes, et cetera. But for the 1% of you that are watching this on our YouTube channel, you'll see that Matt is very different. One of his trademarks here is that he has boycotted a brush. Is that right? So
indeed, yes. Or is it the 8 o'clock interview? Either one of those.
Well, I've seen pictures of you. So your trademark seems to be like, you know what, I'm not going to comb my hair today. So, which is great. Like I said, makes you stand out from all the other white guys with brown hair, right? So, so Matt,
yes.
So Matt Parry is from Adelaide, South Australia, where for the last 10 years, he was part of a company that imported and launched health-focused brands in his state and nationally in Australia. After helping launching hundreds of other people's brands in Australia, Matt wanted to do it for himself. So he developed the Good Crisp Company. In January of 2019, along with his wife and 3 young girls, Matt relocated to Boulder, Colorado to focus on growing the Good Crisp Company here in North America. The Good Crisp Company is better for you canister chip. Is a better for you canister chip. As opposed to that other canister chip, which will remain nameless, right? So, it has been in the U.S. for only 3 years and is already sold in over 8,000 grocery stores, including Whole Foods and Walmart. Matt, I'm come from the Northeast here, Rochester, New York, where we're the home of Wegmans, right? Have you heard about Wegmans yet?
Yeah, we're in Wegmans. Very great retailer.
Oh, yeah. Wegmans, little proud of Wegmans, based here in Rochester, New York, always at the top of the list for the Fortune best companies to work for. And they are I believe they're almost a $10 billion family-owned business. Believe it or not, the family still owns the company. Yeah. It's crazy, right?
It's amazing. I think they've got about 100 stores now, and just beautiful stores. Absolutely. I think one of the top retailers here in the US, definitely.
It's funny. It's people do the whole lineup thing the night before it's going to open, right? I mean, they camp out, and people don't understand it until you experience it, right? So, so Wegmans is doing for grocery stores what it sounds like what you are doing for potato chips. So love to hear the story behind the story. Tell us, how you got to where you are today.
Definitely. So, as you said, I've sort of been in the CPG, grocery, health snack world, since the start of my career. And so I've launched hundreds of different brands and other people's products, and, have seen firsthand some things that work, what doesn't work, and it's different for everything, but sort of had good experience in that area. But I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit and wanted to do my own thing and create my own brand. And so about 5 years ago, I was on a fairly health restrictive diet myself. I have food intolerances and was, after 30 years, sick of feeling bloated and unwell, so I wanted to get to the bottom of it. So, was cutting out gluten, cutting out different things, really looking into what I was eating. And then, as you mentioned, I have 3 young daughters, so often new parents are very focused on what they're feeding their kids and checking ingredients and things like that. So I was really on this sort of mission of trying to clean up what I was eating. But equally at the same time, I'm a big potato chip guy. I love salty snack. I love eating potato chips. I grew up eating Pringles, and I love that format. We love the canister. It's easy, when you got kids, to put in your backpack or have in the car, things like that. But on this diet, I started taking a look into what actually were the ingredients in canister chips, and I was shocked that there was just so much extra stuff in there that didn't need to be in there. So I thought, there's got to be a healthier version or a better way. So looked around, spoke to all of my contacts in the industry, and no one had found one or knew of one. And I thought, well, if I've got this problem, I'm sure there's lots of other parents out there that are interested in this style of product, and maybe I should go out and create one. So took a couple of years, but we were able to find a manufacturer that could make it and develop a recipe that was really tasted good, because that's important. It's still a snack. There's no reason to have a chip if it doesn't taste good. It's a treat, so we wanted to make sure that was important. But to make sure that it hit the ingredients that I was looking for, and I thought that other parents would appreciate, which is, gluten-free, non-GMO, natural flavorings, no artificial flavor enhancers, those things like that I think are important. And so that's what we did.
Excellent. So what did you do? So you brought the name up, Pringles. I wasn't going to bring up your quote unquote competitor, but you brought it up. So what do you do different than Pringles? If I eat a Pringles, or if I should say, if I eat one of your good crisp potato chips, maybe the question is, what am I not eating as opposed to when I'm eating Pringles?
Yeah, for sure. That's exactly right. So we say we just take all the nasty stuff out. So the look's the same. We're in a canister the same. The taste is the same. If not, we feel better. The texture's a little bit different. We're a bit thicker because we use a higher percentage of potato. We don't use flour and other fillers and things like that. So we just use potato, starch. We use sustainable oils, and then we use natural flavoring. So we don't use MSG, we don't use flavor enhancers, we don't use artificial colors. And as I say, we make sure that all of our ingredients are non-GMO project verified, and that we also, we don't use flour and stuff. So we're also naturally gluten-free as well. So It's still a chip product. They're still to be had as treats, but it's just a better for you alternative essentially than other canister chips.
So I got a question. Is this a snack that's actually good for you?
Technically, no. I mean, a potato chip is still a potato chip. So
it's less bad for you, we'll say, right?
Exactly. You're not going to live longer by eating our product for sure, but that's okay, right. And I'm okay with that. We focus on parents and mums are our biggest sort of focus, because their kids are asking for this. They want the canister chip, and indeed, it's part of being kids. It's part of life to sort of enjoy snacks and treats. So we say, if you're going to have one, why not just have ours, which is a little bit better for you.
Well, Matt, I appreciate the honesty. I don't want somebody thinking like, oh, instead of celery, I'm going to eat a canister of the good crisp potato chips, right? So at the end of the day, you're basically saying, you know what? It's a snack. It's something fun to eat. If you want something, salty and you like those type of snacks, it's not necessarily going to make you, run further in your marathon training. But at the same time, you could at least enjoy a snack that tastes good. But as we said, there's less bad stuff in it and more good stuff than a normal snack, we'll say, right? So
exactly. Our tagline is all taste, no guilt. So, we just help you feel a little bit better about the snacks you're eating.
Well, and I love, you are the classic entrepreneur in the fact that you encountered a problem, right? Like what's not out there that I need or my family needs, and it wasn't. And you invented it. And I always say that entrepreneurs are problem solvers, right? And I true believe that entrepreneurial thinking can solve any problem, right? And, whether it's like, something major like digging wells in South Sudan to save lives in these small villages, or creating a more healthy chip because you need that for your own dietary concerns, and therefore there's got to be some other people out there too that would appreciate something like this as well. And obviously, being in over 8,000 grocery store chains already in 3 years, you're proving a model, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I think as well, I think what helped is having that background as well. So having an idea, because we all have ideas and things like that, but I was fortunate that in this instance, I had the experience and the connections and the background, and I could, bring that idea to life, and sort of was able to sort of do that, because an idea is one thing, but I think it's, as I say, my instance, having that experience helped bring that to life and has helped us be able to grow the product as well.
Yeah, and you got to be different. You have to be something different, right? So here in Rochester, there's a lot of food-related companies, and just because of the history of the area and Wegmans being so strong here, they support a lot of smaller food companies. And a woman locally named Michelle Little, she was trying to find some like granola and granola bars that were healthy for her kids and herself. And she was gluten-free as well, had to be gluten-free. And she couldn't find anything. So she created something called the perfect granola. And, so it's really healthy ingredients, gluten-free, vegan-free. You actually know all the ingredients on the package. And same as you guys, she started about 3 or 4 years ago. So you guys are a similar path. And, now Walmart, Whole Foods, Wegmans, of course, all that great stuff doing well. So it's really, really exciting to see the reinvention of food here in America, because it's been, and still is, let's face it, run by big money, telling us that, fat is bad and sugar is okay. And they're killing us, right?
Yeah.
If we listen to, the government recommendations that's influenced by big money, we're all getting sick, right? I mean, and then it leads to healthcare costs, which makes everybody some more money. If you take a step back from all the big money and just say, no, let me just see like what actually is good for me. And could my grandparents have had something like this 100 years ago? And then maybe I'll put that in my mouth instead, So I love what you're doing. I think there's a lot of people like you trying to all these, small, hopefully getting bigger efforts that will eventually cause the wave of change. And then big money's going to follow it, right? So, because you guys are tapping into a trend, and there comes a big money, right? So
definitely, I think it's already. I mean, the latest stat I saw was something like 2 billion, it may even be 3 billion in sales has moved from large CPG companies over to smaller brands. So that shift is happening, and you're right, it's all driven by money, and so that's one way to do it. Once sort of big CPG and the food industry starts to see that's where the money's headed, they'll start to clean up their act, and it'll be great for everyone. So it is a real positive change, and I think it'll happen quicker than we anticipate, which is great news. And I don't think, money's one thing, but I think as well, throughout the 80s and the 90s, we became a bit enamored with science, and we thought that science can do better than nature. And hey, if I take all this natural stuff out, I can replace it with synthetic colors or, all this other sort of flavor boosters and things. And now we're starting to see the effect of that in our health, as you say, and we're starting to see that swing back that, maybe science isn't the best in our food, and we can start to take all of that and put back natural things. And to your point, go back 100 years, what were they using then? Let's put that back in the food. And so it's an exciting shift that we're starting to see, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I've always done pretty well just being brought up with, Italian, Mediterranean diet, lots of vegetables, lots of fruits. I think my mom went through the margarine phase for a little while and then said, this is crap. Let's go back to butter and olive oil, right? So, and that's what you're talking about, right? Margarine. Oh, that's going to, and then, oh, no, margarine's bad, right? It's like eggs are bad. No, eggs are good again. You go crazy, right? Just like, let's go back. What did our ancestors eat? And maybe we could get back to like what our bodies naturally are craving, which is more like real food from the earth, right?
No, definitely.
Excellent. So the big question is, you came from, I think a lot of Americans, dream about like, oh, I want to live in Australia, beaches and sun and a great lifestyle and big cans of Foster's beer and what, and every guy I know from Australia is just the funnest, almost party animal that I know. Right. And, but you moved from sunny Australia to, Boulder, which is a great city. But now you have snow and some more cloudy days, and there's not the ocean near you. So what caused you to move to the big United States of America?
Yeah, and I must admit, as I look out here over a foot of snow, I am starting to question my decision as well. I think I come from Adelaide, a beachside town. I've always lived, within 5 minutes of the beach and the sun. So it is a big change. We moved here in January this year, so almost 12 months now. But really, the big answer is to grow and to focus on our business here in North America. So we launched here, as you mentioned, about 3 years ago, and we still really started to get some traction and some success with the brand here across, you've got such a strong natural channel, as you mentioned, specialty stores like Wegmans and Whole Foods and Sprouts and places like that. So we were able to get some strong traction and a success here. And so really wanted to make this the focus of the business as much as we are in Australia. I mean, when you look at a country that's got 20 million people versus here in the US of, over 200 million people or 300 million, there's just a big an opportunity here. So I'm very thankful. My wife and family were supportive of what we were doing. And we thought, let's do this. So we moved to Boulder, which is the home of almost like the Silicon Valley of natural food. There's a lot of natural food companies here. And so the great support here and a great, as you say, great place to live. And so far it's been really positive and really good.
That's great. How about, do you do any business in Australia? You got the chips over there?
We do. So we sell in Australia. Australia is a difficult place to do business in the grocery world. So there's only 2 supermarket chains, really. They own 80% of the market there, and then Aldi is sort of 10%, and the rest is just smaller independents. So it's a very tough market to do business, as opposed to here in the US, where there's literally hundreds, thousands of grocery chains that you can sell in and get your foot in the door and progress. So it is one of the sad things about Australia. We are sort of lacking in food innovation because of our market. But so we sell there, we sell in airlines, we sell in grocery stores, things like that in Australia. We sell up in Canada and here in the US as well.
That's great. So the big question is, how is business going? Does the balance sheet look exciting for you?
We're getting there. It's as much as Australia, US is a good and an exciting place to do business. It is an expensive place to do business as well. I mean, it's a big country, a lot of area, and we are a national brand now. So, but no, our sales continue to increase. We double our business every year we have, and we plan to do it again next year. So we've been fortunate that we have a product that people want. I think that's been the big difference, and something we're really appreciative of is, we have a product that people like, it's helping them, and retailers are open to trying it as well. So far it's been positive. We're still only 3 years in, so we've still got a lot of work to do, but we're heading in the right direction.
Yeah, once again, I appreciate the honesty. I think a lot of people thinking about owning a business or looking at you right now say, "Oh my God, he's got it made. He must be a millionaire," right? And it's in the beginning when you're starting a new brand and company from scratch. It's very, very difficult, and they say it really takes a good 4 years at least to get the flywheel turning of cash flow and production and just everything moving in a direction if you're going to make it, right? So. You took a big leap at inventing a brand new brand in America where it's very, very crowded, which is exciting. I appreciate your honesty. It is a roller coaster, especially the first 3 to 4 years is probably when there are the most, loops and dark tunnels of the roller coaster, right?
For sure, and you're right. Roller coaster is a good way. I mean, one day you're thinking this is it, this is the best thing I've ever done, and then the next day, or within probably the next couple of hours, you're thinking, oh my goodness, what have I done? It's all going to fall over. I still need to start Googling how to sort of let employees go. It just is up and down and up and down, and there's lots of good things about having your own business and your brand, but that is unfortunately one of the negatives. Is it is very volatile. It's the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, depending on sort of what's happening at any given day.
Often within the same day.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely it is. You can have a great meeting with a retailer and feel amazing, and then that afternoon, you've got a lawyer knocking on your door with some issue or something like that. So it does sort of happen. Because you're sort of doing a lot of things for the first time. And so, it is interesting. And to your point as well, we're in salty snacks, we're in grocery. It's a very competitive. And so we're fortunate we can get product on shelf, but it's another whole thing to get it off again and get people noticing us and picking us up. We go into, as shoppers, we walk into grocery stores and we're very habitual. We pick up the bag of chips that we always do. So how do we break through that and show them that we're new and different? There's lots of challenges, but as I say, we're heading in the right direction and our sales are going up. So there's lots of, sometimes it's good just to take a step back and look at the macro thing of everything rather than sort of being right in the middle where you do get those up and downs, and just seeing the big picture progress definitely helps.
Well, entrepreneurship is certainly not for everybody, and probably not for most people, because it really does test the strength of your resilience, right? But if it is for you, wow, there's nothing like it. It becomes your drug of choice, right? I mean, at this point, 3 years into it, it probably would be very hard for you to go work for another company and have a boss.
Yeah, definitely. I'm almost unemployable at this point, which helps to sort of stay focused on what we're doing, because I
Yep.
think if I'm not doing this, I don't know what I would be doing. But yeah, you're right. Even aside from that, I wouldn't be doing anything else. Like if it's in your blood, it's in your blood, and you have to do it for sure.
Do you do all your manufacturing in Boulder as well?
We actually manufacture in Malaysia. So there's no one in the US or Australia that makes canister chips. It's one of the reasons why it hadn't really been done before. There's not that many people in the world that do it. So we scoured the globe and found a couple of partners, and our manufacturing partner in Malaysia is really high class, one of the best in the world that I've seen. And so they manufacture it and we ship it all around the world from there.
Great. What have been some of your biggest challenges so far?
I think cash flow is always a very tricky challenge, certainly to start. I mean, we have very large slotting fees and promotional fees and upfront fees. We have to buy containers worth of stock and ship it over here and sell it. So, we're in a physical product game, not software or things like that, or services. So, it is a very cash intensive thing. So we've done fundraising. We've sort of got some angels in and investors, and continually watching our cash flow. So that's one of our big challenges. And then, as I say, being a very small company in a very big industry, and making sure with no budget for marketing, how do we get our word out there across a massive country to millions of people? You can't to some degree, but you have to sort of try and work out guerrilla ways and sampling and demos and things. So constantly trying to think, how do we do that? How do we get it into people's mouths? How do we manage our cash flow? And how do we build products that people continue to want? Probably the three things that I focus on a daily.
Great. What about financing? Are you bootstrapping this, or did you get investors?
It's a bit of both. So we certainly bootstrap for as long as we could. We do now have some investors on board, some both angels within the grocery industry who have been fantastic, not only financially, but with their advice and contacts. And then as well, some smaller VC funds have put some funding into our company as well. And it's always a tough balance of when's the right time to do that and should I be doing it. But for me, it came down to we'd bootstrapped for as long as we could, but I was just conscious that we had a first to market advantage. We had, tailwinds. We really wanted to capitalize on that. And I didn't want to have cash be the restriction as to why I wasn't growing and getting into all of these doors and really the natural momentum of this product. And so, as I say, unfortunately, it is a very cash intensive business. And so we made the decision to bring some capital in, and we'll continue to do so over the next few years. And I think it's been one of the best decisions we've done for the natural momentum of the business.
That's great. So do you think you'll sell the company someday?
Well, once you take money, you sort of start down that path. It's not something, we've got good investors where there's not necessarily that focus or that hassle. So really my priority at this stage is just building a good, strong, profitable business that can sort of weather the storms and be there for the long term. And then if an opportunity comes up down the track, well, we're well positioned to take that opportunity and get the best value for it. So I think, yes, inevitably that will happen at some point, but it's not, this is not a pump and dump type sort of brand. We're focusing on building a long-term brand, and we'll see what happens down the track.
No, that's great. A lot of times, I think Jim Collins said this, that new companies will often die from indigestion rather than starvation, meaning that, just too many opportunities come your way and you want to do them all. And I could picture maybe your investors or just people in general saying, hey, you've got potato chips. What else can you do? What other products can you make? And, how have you handled staying focused?
It's actually a really insightful question, because especially in the food industry, it happens. There's a lot of pressure. It's called, are you a platform brand? Okay, you're a potato chip, but where else can you take this brand? What other opportunities? All of these things, because it's a cheap and a quick way to get more cash and sales in the door. But it's not a strategic way to do it. It works for some brands, but for a lot it doesn't. So for us, I think we're in a category with a lot of white space. There's not many competitors. It's a really big space. I mean, Pringles is $1 billion in sales a year alone. So there's a lot of room for us to grow just in canister chips and just to focus on that. So I think for us, we're fortunate there's a lot of space within our category that we can focus on. The world doesn't need another puff product or another chickpea or something like that. Let's leave all that alone and we'll just focus on what we bring that's unique and different. So, I would never say never. I think there's other opportunities. Potentially we can bring snacks into canisters, but it has to be where it fits our customer and what our unique proposition is. But for the moment, there's plenty of opportunity just focusing on what we're doing.
So you're not toying with the idea of cauliflower chips or
I'm sure they'll come out soon. There's cauliflower everything at the moment. It is a bit of a wonder flower, but not for us at this stage.
Yeah, stay focused, right? What just curious because I don't really know what's the big difference between a bag of chips and a canister chip.
So they're made in different ways. So they're both potato. We use potato flake, which is then molded and cut and fried in a very different process, whilst the potato chip is sort of just sliced and then fried and that. So the end result in the sense that they're a potato chip is the same, but the manufacturing process is very, very different. And ours, there's no particular reason for it. It's just a novelty factor. It comes out uniform. It's been able to sort of be in a canister and something different and convenient. That's the main difference between the two. Is ours are just made in a different way.
Is there a taste difference?
Yeah. Just trying. There is because they're flavored slightly differently. I think the texture is different, which leads to a different mouthful and different flavor profile. I suppose with potato chips you can get kettle chipped and kettle cooked and things like that. So yeah, I would say there is a difference in how they taste, and we can flavor ours a bit better as well. So they're a bit more robust because it's a uniform shape that we can spray flavor on, as opposed to sort of drum flavoring, which you get with potato chips.
Yeah, excellent. So before we leave, Matt, I love asking this question because everybody has at least one story. I have what I call a crash and almost burn story. And actually now I'm calling it a crash and learn story.
Yeah, right.
And that's the title of my new book. Do you have, maybe you say, how many do you want? But do you have a story like that where you just fell down and didn't know how you were going to get back up? Maybe you and your wife had to stay up all night and figure things out for a few nights. But can you share with us part of the journey?
Sure, and as you said, there's certainly lots of them, unfortunately. But one of the main ones was when we first launched here in the US, we launched under a different brand. We had a brand that I'd been using in Australia that was a bigger brand, and we were able to get the rights to it, and thought, well, rather than, I didn't have confidence in myself and that our brand, the Good Chris company, could work, and we should maybe partner with this other company and use their resources to go into this new company. So we launched a canister chip under their brand, and we were launching 40 Whole Food stores, and we had about 100 plus retailers and more coming on board. And then as soon as it was out in the market, the feedback was pretty instant, where people were saying, well, what does this mean? Marmee was the brand, which, is a big brand in Australia and other parts of the world, but they're saying it's not big here. It doesn't make sense. We don't know how to pronounce it. What are you going to do? So it was a real decision of, do we just push forward and say, well, no, a name is just a name. Let's just go. People will get used to it. Or do we dump hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of labels and quickly relabel, come up with a new brand, use our existing brand and get it out there and do it? So we agonized over that and just made the decision to change. And so within sort of 3 months, we had changed and relabeled and repushed it out there. And certainly it's been one of the best decisions that we made. And the response to our new packaging and new branding was fantastic. And we could see it almost overnight change. So it was definitely one of those. We just wanted to get the product out there, but we realized pretty quickly we'd made a mistake and we needed to change.
So it was an expensive step backwards that eventually allowed you to leap forward.
Definitely. And we have lots of expensive step backwards, but I think you're right. That point about sort of how do we use that to then sort of move forward and make the right decision next time is definitely the key to success.
Just like the slingshot, got to go backwards before you go forwards, right? So, yeah.
Yep.
Well, Matt Parry from the Good Chris Company, thank you so much for being on the show today. Very much appreciated. Very exciting journey. I'm glad to have you on the show, and I hope you remember me when you're doing the $1 billion of business and Pringles buys you, and then you can invest in one of my companies, okay?
Sure. No, thank you so much. It's been great being on here. Thank you.
Hey, Matt, if people want to learn more about you and the company, et cetera, where do they go?
Yep. So me personally on LinkedIn, as you say, Matt Parry, Parry. And then our website, thegoodcrispcompany.com, has all our information, and we have a store locator there and anything like that. And that's a great place to go as well.
Excellent, man. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I totally appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you, Dave.
Wish you continued massive success. And thank you, Avanti family. Always appreciate your time for listening and or watching to the Avanti Entrepreneur Podcast. To learn more about what we do, hundreds more podcasts, all of our services, go to AvantiEntrepreneur.com. That is AvantiEntrepreneur.com. Matt, once again, wish you great continued success. Avanti listeners, hope we can help you and continue to help you as well. Make it a great day and stay awesome.